They say there are corners where the veil between the living and ancient spirits is so thin, you can hear the earth breathing. Here, silence is not an absence of sound, but a heavy, watchful presence that tracks your very soul. For millennia, the land has waged a quiet war against the elements, forging a bond where stone and spirit become indistinguishable. You do not simply walk these realms. You surrender to a rhythm beating long before the first empires rose. Is it the wind howling through the void, or the collective memory of a civilization that learned to dance with dragons? Every step feels like a trespass into a sacred dream, where resilience is measured in the slow, eternal erosion of rock. A vibration hums in the air, suggesting the gods have not abandoned these heights, but are merely sleeping. Here, you shed the weight of the mortal world to discover what endures when time itself dissolves. The mist here does not simply obscure, it swallows history whole, wrapping the city's soul in a heavy embrace of wet earth and old stone. Long ago, a king beheld a golden dragon ascending from the river, christening this land Tang Long, the place of the soaring dragon. Yet dragons are volatile, and beneath the surface, the ground is saturated with the blood of dynasties that rose like morning fog, only to dissolve into the humid air. Legends speak of the golden turtle god who surfaced from green waters, demanding the return of a magic sword that had once driven away northern invaders. They say the divine blade still rests beneath the murky currents, waiting for a time when the city must defend its soul against encroaching shadows once more. The resilience of this place is carved into unseen foundations, where layers of ruined citadels lie sleeping beneath the shifting pavement. Centuries past, powerful sisters rode elephants into the jaws of war, defying a colossal empire to reclaim their homeland. Their screams of defiance still echo in the wind, though even the bravest warriors eventually fade into disturbed spirits wandering the maze of the old quarter. Walking here is traversing a corridor between worlds, where the smoke of burning incense bridges the gap between the living market and the silent, watching ancestors. The Red River swells and recedes like a breathing lung, carrying the silt of memories from the mountains to bury the secrets of the past. There is a terrible beauty in how the moss claims the stone, a reminder that nature is the only true emperor. Time here is a spiral, returning endlessly to the same glories and the same inevitable decay, leaving us to wonder if cities are merely fleeting breaths in time's vast silence. The earth splits open, revealing a landscape seemingly carved by angry gods, where the water's force demands absolute reverence. Legend tells of a prince and peasant whose forbidden love defied the court, driving them into these mist-shrouded mountains. It is said the heavens wept in sympathy, creating thundering falls to shield the lovers forever. Centuries ago, this frontier served as sanctuary for the Mac dynasty, a fallen house that transformed limestone labyrinths into a fortress of exile. Deep within the stone, ghosts of kings still hold court, whispering plans of reconquest that drift away on the wind. There is a haunting beauty in how the river divides the land, reflecting two nations, yet belonging to neither. Ancient ballads speak of giants who walked these valleys, planting bamboo groves as spears against invaders from the north. Listen past the cascade, and you might hear the echo of bronze drums beating a rhythm of war that ended 1,000 years ago. The water flows with relentless determination, proving that nature is the only true emperor here. In these shadows, revolutionaries once gathered, using the secrecy of the karst peaks to forge a modern nation's destiny. The fog is the breath of mountain spirits, guarding secrets of pacts broken and blood spilled in the dawn. Myths claim a golden deer leaped across the precipice, leaving a trail of jewels that became the shimmering pools below. Beneath the surface, treacherous currents hide the lost treasures of fleeing armies, swallowed by the earth. To stand here is to feel the pulse of the planet, a vibration resonating into the soul. Silence is a stranger, for the air is filled with the river's thunderous voice, telling stories no human tongue can repeat. The mighty river does not merely end here. It transforms into a hydra of life, splitting its colossal soul into 9 wandering dragons seeking the sea's eternal embrace. Legend whispers that these waters were once the chaotic battleground of celestial serpents, their writhing bodies carving the very canals that now pulse like intricate veins through the soft earth. Beneath the silt, ancient spirits are said to slumber, waiting for the moon to pull the tides high enough to wake them from their watery graves. Here, the boundary between solid earth and fluid sky dissolves, creating a mirror world where one drifts through the clouds of a forgotten dream. Travelers once spoke of the river as a capricious god, demanding the sweat of the brow and the silence of the soul in exchange for its perilous bounty. Even the blooms are not mere plants, but the crystallized tears of those who waited on the banks for lovers who never returned from the deep. Elders recount tales of the floating season, when the water rises to reclaim its dominion, turning villages into isolated archipelagos drifting on currents of fate. In the pre-dawn hours, Ghosts of ancient warriors are said to glide alongside the boats, guiding the silent harvest through the labyrinth to ensure the living do not lose their way. This is the paradox of the Nine Dragons, a place of devastating power masked by a veneer of tranquility. History here is written not in stone, but in the shifting mud, erasing the heavy footprints of empires and leaving only the wind's whispers. In this garden of illusions, life blooms from the decay of yesterday, a perpetual cycle of rebirth that mocks the linearity of human time. In the dawn of time, when waters wrestled with the sky, a golden dragon rose from the East Sea to lay a mystical egg upon these shores. From the shattered fragments of that cosmic shell, 5 marble giants emerged, born of the fundamental elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Yet beneath the majesty of these peaks lies a labyrinth of darkness, a subterranean world thick with the restless spirits of the Champa Kingdom. Centuries ago, a powerful king hid sacred treasures within the mountain's twisting intestines, entrusting the secret to a monk vowed to eternal silence. These caves became sanctuaries, where the boundaries between the mortal realm and the afterlife dissolved. But legend whispers of a traitor who deciphered the monk's fearful eyes, unleashing a massacre that made the very rock bleed with ancient sorrow. Throughout history, soldiers have vanished into these crevices like ghosts, striking and disappearing before the enemy could draw breath. It is rumored that deep within the limestone heart, passages lead straight to the underworld, walked only by those lost in war. The wind howling through the fissures is not a breeze, but a choir of forgotten souls singing a requiem for the fallen. They speak of a warrior who sought redemption in the highest cave, meditating until his body turned to stone, becoming one with the mountain. His spirit remains a silent guardian, watching over secrets buried beneath layers of dust. Nature has slowly reclaimed the battlegrounds, draping a green shroud to heal the scars of violence. The mountains observe humanity's fleeting struggles with patience, knowing every empire eventually crumbles to sand. Only the stone remembers the true names of the heroes and villains who once claimed dominion here. Ultimately, the earth itself holds the deep, vibrating memory of every soul that has ever touched its surface. Here the world ends not in a whimper, but in a jagged crescendo of stone piercing the underbelly of the sky. Before empires rose, this land was a battlefield for the gods, forged in the fires of celestial conflict. Legend speaks of a mighty dragon who, moved by the starving highlanders, descended to bring rain to the parched rocks. When it departed to the heavens, the dragon left behind pieces of its body, fossilizing into the limestone karsts that guard the valleys like eternal sentinels. The emerald waters below are believed to be the creature's tears, flowing forever to nurture corn that grows miraculously from dry stone crevices. Centuries ago, a king rose amidst these impenetrable walls, ruling a kingdom of clouds and opium poppies. They say he struck a bargain with spirits of the mist, trading the souls of flowers for protection against armies from the north. His fortress still stands, a testament to a time when silver flowed like water, and silence was the loudest weapon against the outside world. Yet the greatest legend is not of gods, but of the mortal hands that carved the road of happiness through impossible cliffs. Tens of thousands hung suspended over the void, armed only with hammers and will, chiseling a vein of life into the mountain's heart. The wind howling through the passes carries echoes of their sacrifice, a haunting melody of blood and stone. In this realm, time erodes slowly, like the limestone yielding to the relentless caress of the wind. The ancestors believed every rock holds a spirit, waiting to judge the courage of those who tread upon the spine of the earth. To walk here is to step into a myth still being written, where the boundary between the mortal world and shadows dissolves. Life here is a defiance of gravity, a stubborn bloom proving that beauty thrives in the most unforgiving of cradles. In the scorched heart of the coast, beneath a sun of unforgiving intensity, lies Panduranga, the final stronghold where the kingdom of Champa made its desperate stand against history. Listen closely to the gales sweeping these dunes. They are the weeping voices of a vanished empire, seeking to tell their tragic tale. Long ago, warrior poets ruled these shores, raising sanctuaries that defied the heavens, held together not by mortar, but by a mysterious resin and the fervent prayers of high priests. The secret of this alchemy died with the last architects, leaving only enigmatic sentinels to guard the secrets of the dead. Legend speaks of King Po Klonggarai, a shepherd turned deity who challenged invaders to a contest of creation rather than a river of blood. While enemies toiled with heavy stone, the Cham king utilized magic and spirit, raising a tower before the setting sun to secure a fleeting peace. Yet, peace is fragile. The drums of war thundered from the north, and betrayals as cold as monsoon rains fractured the kingdom, washing away the golden age. Myths tell of a queen waiting atop the highest dune for a king who would never return, her tears turning into the crystal salt that now crusts this arid ground. Nature has stripped away the ornamentation to reveal the raw soul of a culture that looked at the stars and saw gods. Every grain of sand is a minute fragment of a shattered palace, a stanza of a forgotten epic that no living tongue can recite. Here in Phan Rang, the boundary between the living and the dead dissolves, leaving only the timeless echo of a civilization that refused to vanish completely. It is a philosophical altar to the truth that all things pass, an eternal sigh of desert spirits watching over footprints in the shifting dust. High in the Central Highlands, where mist clings to the earth like a second skin, lies a realm suspended between reality and dreams. Long before explorers sought refuge here, tribes whispered of spirits in the pine peaks, guarding the land's secrets. It is said the fog is not weather, but the accumulated breath of restless lovers wandering forever in the mountain's cool embrace. The legend of Lang Biang speaks of Kalang and Hebiang, children of rival tribes who defied ancient laws to bind their souls. Their forbidden love was extinguished by the poisoned arrows of hatred, leaving behind twin peaks that watch the valley like silent sentinels. Listen closely to the wind in the pines, and you may hear their final promises, a mournful song that never resolves. At the Lake of Sighs, unnervingly still waters mirror the tragedy of a maiden who chose the cold depths when war called her warrior away. There is a haunting beauty in how the landscape remembers what history forgets, preserving echoes of heartbreak in the rush of waterfalls. Weathered colonial villas stand as hollow shells, possessing a heavy silence that speaks of an empire lost to time. In the twilight, the veil between the living and the ghosts of the past becomes dangerously thin. Nature here is a magnificent artist, painting a paradise that feeds on the melancholy of those who walk its paths. Perhaps the land demands a tribute of sorrow to maintain its eternal spring. In this sanctuary of mist, the myths of the Lat people dance with the phantoms of history. Dalat remains a beautiful enigma, exposing the heart's fragility against the unyielding endurance of the mountains. Mui Ne rises like a mirage from the fevered dreams of the earth, a realm where the boundaries of time dissolve into the heat. Legends speak of an era when fierce gods molded this terrain with fire, leaving behind crimson waves as a testament to their raw power. Yet beneath the scorching sun, the spirits of the Champa ancestors still wander, guarding the tragic secrets of a lost civilization. It is said that the beautiful Princess Poshanu fell in love with a man from a forbidden tribe, only for her family to conspire against the union. They lit a false signal fire, a cruel deception to convince the princess she had been abandoned by her lover. Heartbroken, she waited on the high cliffs until her physical form withered away, her profound sorrow seeping into the clay to stain the sands the color of blood. To this day, the wind carries the echo of her lament when the violet shadows of twilight descend. Beyond this land of grief lies the fury of the ocean, where fishermen wage a silent war against the temper of the tides. Old sailors claim that beneath the surface lurk ancient dragons, beasts that demand tribute in exchange for safe passage. There are tales of storms that swallow entire fleets in a single breath, spitting wreckage onto the shore as a grim warning to those who challenge the deep. The dunes themselves are restless creatures, shifting to erase footprints, as if to say that nothing in this world is permanent. Travelers often report the sensation of being watched, as if the souls claimed by the sea are observing from the veil of the heat haze. Yet the people believe the red sand holds a protective power, a barrier against malevolent spirits that rise during the monsoon. Here, destruction and creation are one, and every grain of sand sings a lullaby for empires that have vanished into the void. Here the earth rises to challenge the heavens, piercing the eternal veil with peaks that have stood since the dawn of creation. Legend speaks of giants whose heavy footsteps carved these deep ravines, where rivers now rush like liquid jade through the mountain's veins. The mist is said to be the breath of sleeping dragons, guarding secrets buried beneath the roots of ancient trees. It is a landscape of defiant beauty, where the Hmong and Dao people have sculpted the mountainside into a staircase for the gods. For centuries, they have engaged in a silent negotiation with gravity, turning vertical cliffs into fertile cradles through sheer determination. They say every grain of rice holds the soul of an ancestor who labored to tame the wild stone. Ancient tales recount the sorrow of 3 fairies who, captivated by this land, transformed themselves into peaks to watch over the valley forever. If you listen to the wind howling through the canyons, you might hear their longing songs echoing off the walls. This is the realm of the Huanglian Sun, the roof of Indochina, a fortress of rock that challenges the sky. In days of old, warriors and spirits clashed in these high passes, their battles swallowed by the eternal fog. The forest spirits demand respect, and elders still whisper incantations to appease the unseen forces in the shadows. The Love Market, a tradition as old as the hills, was born from the tragic romance of lovers separated by these unforgiving heights. Guided only by the haunting melody of a bamboo flute, souls seek their counterparts in the darkness. Generations teach that the mountain is not an enemy to be conquered, but a stern father to be honored. Sapa remains a cathedral of the open air, where the boundary between the mortal realm and the divine dissolves into mist. Here lies a metropolis of fire and smoke, a dragon curling its massive body around the bends of a mighty river. Long before the skyline rose, this land was a tangled swamp where tigers prowled and ancient spirits guarded the muddy waters. The earth here remembers every footstep, bearing the heavy weight of empires that rose with arrogance, only to crumble into dust. Settlers carved life from the jungle's embrace, unaware this fertile soil would one day drink the tears of millions. Yet the city pulses with a fevered energy, a heartbeat that miraculously survived the thunder of falling bombs and the cold silence of betrayal. Beneath the modern roar, shadows linger in narrow alleys, whispering of spies who walked among friends with daggers hidden behind smiles. The ground itself became a weapon, riddled with secret labyrinths where an army lived in the suffocating dark, moving like phantoms beneath enemy boots. Once hailed as the jewel of the East, a prize nations sought to claim, it refused to be owned by anyone but its own people. Legends speak of the day iron birds fled the rooftops in panic, marking the violent end of one era and the chaotic birth of another. Do not be fooled by the blinding neon. It merely illuminates deep scars that time has struggled to fade. Families torn by ideology stitch the wounds of a divided nation, weaving a complex tapestry of forgiveness. Today, a river of steel and light flows through the streets, a chaotic symphony surging toward an uncertain tomorrow. Listen to the wind in the old tamarind trees, to hear the faint echoes of prayers whispered during the darkest nights. History is not trapped in cold museums here. It lives in the air you breathe, heavy with incense and the promise of survival. The earth rises here in jagged teeth to bite the sky, a fortress forged not by human hands, but by the relentless erosion of eons. Beneath the mist clinging to these limestone giants, the ghosts of a forgotten empire pace the muddy banks, waiting for orders that will never come. Long before the walls rose, a boy named Dinh Bo Lin played among these reeds, commanding a mock army with flags of wildflowers, unaware the land's spirits were listening. Destiny transformed his play into the roar of a unifier, who quelled the 12 warlords and stitched a fractured nation together with iron will. But power forged in blood demands a price. The valley shadows know the treachery of a royal feast turned sudden funeral. Legend speaks of a sleeping dragon curled around the ancient capital, its scales hardening into karst mountains that barred northern invaders from piercing the realm's heart. The wind whistling through dark grottos carries the sighs of Queen Duong Van Nha, who bore the crushing weight of 2 dynasties. When Song troops threatened the throne, she made the impossible choice to hand the emperor's robe to the commander of the armies, sacrificing lineage to save the country's soul. Rivers flow here like liquid jade, indifferent to kings, carving secrets into the mountains that no historian can decipher. Deep within submerged caverns, a golden buffalo is said to wander, seeking the sun, its hoofbeats causing ripples on the mirror-calm waters. When the capital moved to the rising dragon of the north, this sanctuary merely closed its gates, allowing moss to weave a shroud over the palaces. Ancient violence has decayed into lush tranquility, proving nature is the only true emperor. Stone sentinels guard nothing but memories, watching centuries dissolve like sugar in hot tea. True strength lies not in fortifications, but in a quiet surrender to the flow of time. Here lies a sanctuary where turquoise waters cradle the secrets of 1,000 years. The wind howling through these limestone crevices is the heavy breath of ancient spirits, seeking restitution for crimes long forgotten. Centuries ago, this bay was a labyrinth of shadows, where ruthless pirates hid their plunder from the great dynasties of the north. A vast fortune of silver, jade, and imperial porcelain rests beneath the coral, guarded by the restless ghosts of those betrayed by their own brothers. Legends tell of a night when the moon turned blood red and a sacred pact was broken, sending a fleet of treasure ships plunging into the dark abyss. The surface now feigns innocence, yet the seabed hides layers of salt and silence. Local elders warn that at twilight, one can hear the faint, rhythmic chanting of sailors rowing toward a destination that no longer exists. Spectral canoes drift through the mist, manned by shades forever bound to the cursed gold that anchored them to their watery doom. The rocks stand as majestic titans, silent witnesses to an eternal drama where nature weaves lush life over the cold graveyards of the past. They whisper of a pirate captain who sought to cheat death by offering the bay his soul, only to become part of the reef, his stone eyes watching for a rescue that will never come. The abyss gazes upward, a realm where the boundary between the living and the spectral is dangerously thin, and echoes of betrayal ripple like stones cast into a well. To stand before this expanse is a humbling reminder that while empires rise and fall, the sea remembers everything. The mist here does not rise. It clings to the valley floor like a heavy memory refusing to fade. Long before outsiders came, this earth was a theater of silent wars between the mountain lords known as the Lang. They say the soil is fertile because it has drunk the blood of kinsmen for 1,000 years. A grim nourishment. The White Thai clans once guarded these lowlands with jealous iron against hungry eyes watching from the peaks. It is a landscape of deception, where beauty is merely a velvet shroud draped over a violent skeleton. Listen to the wind in the bamboo, and you might hear the phantom clash of swords from the era of great feuds. Legend speaks of a dawn when the fog turned red, stained by the slaughter of a tribe who descended too soon. The mountains stand as stoic witnesses, keeping the secrets of the vanquished locked within stone hearts. Beneath the living, shadows hide the spirits of warriors who died without the dignity of burial. Here, boundaries were carved not with ink, but with the sharp edge of a blade against the throat of the night. Elders believe the harvest grows tall to hide the bones of the fallen from the gaze of the heavens. There is a tale of a chieftain's daughter who wept for an enemy lover until her tears flooded the valley. Time flows heavy here, burdened by the weight of unwritten histories. Every harvest is a ritual to appease hungry ghosts slumbering beneath the mud, waiting for the drum of war. As light fades, the valley returns to the spirits, leaving the living as guests in a graveyard of empires. This is the paradox of Mai Chau, a paradise built upon the ashes of purgatory. Within the Gulf of Tonkin, the world sheds its modern skin to reveal a primordial landscape of staggering majesty. Chronicles speak of a time when the people were newly forged, facing invaders sweeping down from the north like a consuming storm. The Jade Emperor answered their cries, sending the Mother Dragon and her children descending to defend the realm. Facing the fleet, dragons released torrents of jade and pearls that struck the water with the force of collapsing mountains. These stones metamorphosed into thousands of islands, erupting instantly to form an impenetrable wall of spikes. Enemy vessels shattered against these sudden fortresses, their broken hulls sinking into the abyss to join the bay's eternal silence. Captivated by their creation, the dragons chose to remain, their submerged bodies forming this twisting labyrinth of towers. Today, the tranquility is heavy with the weight of mythical sacrifice, a peace born from the aftermath of divine violence. For eons, the sea has kissed the feet of these giants, carving grottos where prehistoric humans sought shelter from the storms of a younger Earth. Deep inside the island's hollow chests, In caves breathing with the tides, one hears the heartbeat of the dragon waiting to rise. The dawn mist is the breath of history, obscuring the line between tangible rock and the spirit world. Hidden within inaccessible lagoons are portals to the past, where the echo of ancient battles rings for those with spiritual ears. To navigate this maze is to realize that human ambition is fleeting compared to the enduring patience of the rock. Ha Long Bay is a testament to the violent beauty of creation, where myth is more real than stone, and the dragon still dreams beneath the waves. Floating like a teardrop in the southern sea, this island weaves a spell of tranquility that belies the tempestuous history carved into its bedrock. Centuries ago, the future Emperor Vinh An fled to these remote shores, his dynasty hanging by a thread as thin as spider's silk. Hunted and starving, trapped between the merciless jungle and the indifferent ocean, the desperate lord raised his sword in divine defiance, driving it deep into the barren stone. Miraculously, a spring of sweet water erupted from the fissure, a sign that the spirits of the archipelago had chosen his side against the turning tides of fate. Yet the island's benevolence has always been double-edged, for these jagged coves also served as the lair for ruthless sea bandits who prowled the trade routes. Legends speak of galleons laden with stolen silver sinking into the coral gardens, their locations known only to the ghosts of pirates betrayed by their own greed. As the wheel of time turned, the island's profound isolation was twisted into a weapon, transforming the royal sanctuary into the notorious Coconut Tree Prison. Behind the veil of swaying palms lay a realm of shadows, where 40,000 souls were confined, their only escape found in the endurance of the spirit or the final release of death. Today, the waves tirelessly scrub the shore, erasing the footprints of kings and prisoners alike, leaving behind a landscape that feels eternally innocent. The serenity we witness is but a fragile mask, worn to hide the turbulence of the centuries. Phu Quoc stands as a testament to the resilience of the land, absorbing the tragedies of history and transmuting them into a peace that feels both ancient and new. The air here hangs heavy with the scent of spices forgotten by the cruel passage of time. Centuries ago, this was the beating heart of the Silk Roads, where Japanese silver met Chinese ceramics in a dangerous dance of greed and beauty. They say the river carries not just water, but the drowned hopes of merchants who gambled their lives on treacherous monsoon winds. Ancient legend speaks of a colossal sea monster named Namazu, whose head lay in the north and tail thrashed in the west. It was believed the spine of this beast pulsed beneath these very streets, requiring a seal of stone and prayer to silence the earthquakes. Yet even monsters could not stop the relentless march of silt that choked the harbor. turning a metropolis into a quiet memory. When the river mouths closed, the great ships sailed elsewhere, leaving grand houses filled with shadows and the despair of fortunes turned to dust. On nights when the fog rolls in, one can hear the clinking of foreign coins and traders bargaining for their souls in languages long dead. Just beyond the horizon lies the phantom weight of the imperial capital, a silent witness to the absolute fragility of power. Emperors believed they were sons of heaven, yet their reigns were as fleeting as paper lights succumbing to dark water. Now, ghosts of the court mingle with spirits of merchants, sharing tales of betrayal for a crown that no longer exists. It is said the glow reflecting on the water is an offering to appease wandering souls who never found their way home. In the end, only a haunting tapestry remains, woven from the threads of glory and the inevitable decay that follows all human endeavor. High above the veil of clouds, where earth arches to touch the heavens, lies a testament to the stubborn will of humanity against the indifference of stone. Legend speaks of the Hmong wandering from the frozen north, fleeing imperial wrath to find a land where fog would cloak them from enemies. They say these mountains were once wild beasts, jagged and cruel, refusing to yield a single grain to the weary intruders daring to climb their spines. Yet the ancestors fought with hoes and infinite patience, carving steep slopes until the beasts were tamed into stairways for giants. It is a living sculpture, etched into the world's bones by calloused hands that understood the secret language of water and gravity. In deep silence, elders speak of the forest spirit guarding the headwaters, demanding spirit money and rice wine before the first seed is sown. Myth claims the harvest's golden hue is trapped sunlight, stolen by clever stalks to keep the people warm through the biting winter. This is sacred geometry, a desperate, beautiful negotiation between human hunger and the mountain's reluctance. At the horn of the sky, warrior spirits are said to ride the cold winds, watching over the fields from the peaks. Travelers whisper that rustling stalks carry the chanting of shamans, inviting the wandering souls of the rice to return to the granaries. Old stories linger of a time when grains were large as melons, rolling downhill on their own, until human laziness offended the heavens. Every harvest is a fleeting victory, where the sweat of summer transforms into the gold of survival. It reminds us that beauty is often the child of suffering, born from the struggle to turn barren rock into a cradle for life. Here, in this cathedral of clouds and clay, the eternal dance of creation plays out, a masterpiece that must be destroyed each year to save its creators. Deep within the valley, a silence heavier than stone guards the remnants of a vanished empire. The wind carries the ragged breaths of Champa kings who once believed they were equal to the gods. In a forgotten age, monarchs forged a stairway to the heavens, raising sanctuaries to Shiva to secure their immortality. This architecture stands as a defiant testament to will, a desperate alchemy of brick and belief meant to touch the divine. But the gods are fickle, turning their gaze away when mortal pride grows too tall. A secret magic bound these walls without mortar. Yet even such seamless unity fades under time's curse. Now, grand temples are hollow shells where shadows prey, and history speaks of sacred wars soaking this ground in blood. The patient jungle watched the rise of these towers, waiting for the inevitable fall of their masters. Amidst rustling leaves, the phantom clash of bronze echoes alongside the chanting of priests, warding off the darkness. Tragedy is etched in the scars of modern war, where fire rained from the sky to prove that nothing endures forever. There is a haunting beauty in this decay, where ancient roots strangle the masonry in a suffocating embrace. Spirits of the Cham linger in the choking vines, guarding the memory of a glory that crumbled under its own desires. The stage is devoured by the green curtain of nature, reclaiming all things with cosmic indifference. Red brick glows with the embers of a history consumed by the forest's appetite. Deities have abandoned these altars to oblivion, leaving behind a lesson on the fragility of power. The valley remembers what the world has forgotten, holding the secrets of the Champa in a grip that never loosens. Amidst these remnants, one feels the crushing weight of time, for even the mightiest prayers fade into the silence of the earth. In the mist-shrouded heart of the Central Lands, the Perfume River drifts slowly, bearing the heavy memories of the Nguyen emperors who raised a celestial capital meant to defy the heavens. Yet within the deep chambers of the forbidden Purple City, power was often a goblet of wine laced with arsenic, and courtly smiles frequently concealed the daggers of ambition. The profound silence hanging over these moss-laden walls speaks of a time when a single word from the throne could command the tides or extinguish a noble bloodline. Travelers still recount the tale of the sorrowful King Tu Duc, a sovereign who retreated to a tomb built for the living, reciting poetry to the moon while his dynasty crumbled. It is whispered that his spirit wanders the pine forests, mourning the children he never had and the kingdom he could not save from the turning wheel of fate. The landscape remains dotted with grand mausoleums, where stone giants stand in eternal vigilance, guarding the sleep of monarchs against the intrusion of the living. These were not merely graves, but alternate universes, constructed by vanity, where the emperor hoped to rule forever, served by terracotta armies and the ghosts of concubines. But the jungle creeps closer with every passing year, its roots prying apart the stones to reveal the ultimate truth, that all glory is fleeting and dust awaits every crown. To walk here is to step into a melancholy dream, where the beauty of the architecture is inseparable from the tragedy of the lives consumed to build it. Legends say the river weeps at night, turning dark with the accumulated grief of queens who were exiled and princes silenced before they could speak. The wind howling through the crumbling gates sounds like the distant clash of swords, a reminder that the pinnacle of power always births the longest shadow. The weight of these ancient stones settles upon the soul, a testament to an era refusing to be forgotten. The wind carries the fading echoes of 1,000 voices that once laughed and screamed within these boundaries. Kings stood here believing their reign eternal, unaware destiny had already woven a tragic tapestry for their lineage. There is a profound, melancholic beauty in this decay, a silent dignity commanding respect. Legends speak of a spectral sentry, a guardian whose oath extended beyond death to pace these ramparts by moonlight. Open your mind to smell the smoke of siege fires and hear the clash of iron from battles long past. Nature mercilessly reclaims what was borrowed, wrapping unyielding stone in a warm embrace of wild ivy. Here a brother turned his blade against kin, staining the courtyard with noble blood that rain could never wash away. Vast treasures lie buried deep, hidden by desperate hands moments before the gates were breached. The silence is not empty. It holds a heavy presence, as if invisible eyes watch from the shadows. We recall stories of a forbidden love that bloomed here, doomed by the cruel politics of warring empires. Time is the only true conqueror, grinding mountains to dust and turning fortresses into memories etched against the sky. Chronicles mention a terrible curse, promising that those who sought to destroy this sanctuary would find no rest. Shadows reach out like fingers of the past, holding us where the veil between worlds is dangerously thin. Remember the heroes who defended these ramparts, ensuring their stories would echo through the canyons of time. Let the spirits resume their eternal vigil, and let the fortress sleep until the next wanderer disturbs its slumber. This is not merely a ruin. It is a stone poem written by time itself,